Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. This is an experiment that has been successful, and I want to show you what I'm doing. This is an extremely inexpensive way to make a ton of compost for your garden. Now, it's based on a couple principles, so let me just go over those. One, it's a compost tumbler. You do have to invest in that, and I recommend whatever you buy, get something that's off the ground or build something like this. It's a lot easier to turn them, to fill them, to empty them. So I gave it 5 spins, again at the 7-day mark, and I just wanted to show you what it should look like at the 1-week mark. Organic granular fertilizers are really expensive, so if you're buying them by the pound in bags, you're spending a lot of money. Number one, that was something I took into account. Number two, not everybody has enough space to start their own compost piles. I understand that. Not everybody has access to green grasses or the greens, browns like leaves to make compost. So for me to get on a video and say, hey, just use compost, that's kind of silly. That's just unfair. We all have different resources. So I tried to figure out what's the least expensive way you can make great organic compost. And I came up with a solution. Okay, so cut in number one. All the material in there is a 5-gallon bucket full of the alfalfa pellets and a half a bucket of the wood pellets. That expanded to 5 of those 5-gallon buckets. So that's a lot of material. So it's going in on November 8th. You can see the color. Threw in another handful of compost or your garden bed earth just to get the soil microbiology in there. Temperatures at, I don't know if you can see it, but you'll have to trust me, under 60 degrees. In about 3 days, this should heat up. I'll come back. We'll watch the progress over about 30 days. And I want to show it to you. Now, we're going to use 2 things. You do have to buy this. If you can make your own compost, great, use that. This is a bag, a 40-pound bag of alfalfa pellets. That's about 15 bucks. That is, I think they are 40-pound bags too, of wood pellets. That's anywhere from $5 to $6. So these 2 bags, let's just call it $20, $25, have made all the compost you see right now. Now, let me go over how you do this. So in my first experiment, this is a mix of equal parts. Well, 50%, but it's actually equal parts, equal ratios. So it's a half a bucket in there of the wood pellets and a half a bucket of the alfalfa pellets. Now, they're dry, they're pressed, so you have to add water to it, and you have to probably put in double the amount of water. I dump the pellets into a wheelbarrow just like this. This is the second experiment. I'll get to that in a second. So I put in the wood pellets in there, the alfalfa pellets, fill it with water, a couple inches over the top. It's going to take about 3 hours for them to absorb all the water. You want to do that. And it's going to expand. So this was equal parts pellets and alfalfa, wood pellets and alfalfa pellets, sorry. And it looks pretty good. This is just about 50 days later. However, it was too much carbon. This is what it looks like fresh. I just made this yesterday. This is what it looks like 50 days later. It's starting to brown out and compost down. However, the first batch was just too much carbon, too much wood. The 50-50 or the equal parts wasn't quite right. Now, this will continue to break down over the months. This will be a great mulch, and I'm going to use it. And it's really, really inexpensive compared to buying all your stuff. It's been 7 full days. I have not spun the tumbler. Let it sit for 7 days, and you can see that it is over 120 degrees. Yesterday, days 5 and 6, it was even warmer than that. So you want to let this sit for 7 days, let it heat up, and when we dig in there, you can see all the activity that's going on. You can even see some steam coming up. I mean, that is really working. It's even feels hotter than 120 in there. So we let this sit for 7 days. I'm going to close it up, and now I'm going to give it a spin. And I'll come back in a couple more days. We'll see how it's going. So that brings us to experiment number 2, which I'm doing today. And that's nice and green in there. So for this, I'm just upping it to 2 parts alfalfa pellets, 1 part wood pellets. You're going to put in 2 parts of your alfalfa pellets, the greens, 1 part of the wood pellets, the browns, soak it in, hydrate it, and you put in enough water so that when you crumble it, they're all broken up. Now, you want to throw in a handful of compost or something just to put in the microbes in there and get them in there. It'll happen without it, but this is a nice way to jumpstart it. Or throw in some other compost you have going somewhere. Mix it all in. That's all you need to do to get it started. And then we go ahead and we fill the compost containers, the barrel containers. This will get spun really maybe once or twice a week. You don't even have to do that, to be honest with you. This high ratio of the alfalfa greens in there and the wood, this is going to heat up really quickly. So the whole goal of setting up this experiment was for me to figure out how you could make compost more quickly than waiting 6 months, how you could do it in the most inexpensive way, assuming that you can't get manures for free and you don't have all this property to build compost piles. You know, this is for gardeners that, you know, have space, don't have room for composting, don't have the materials easily at their hands, and you don't want to keep spending a lot of money on organic granular fertilizer. This will take the place of buying those 5-pound, 8-pound bags for $8 to $20 right there. $20, $25. So here are the two bins. This one is at 60 days. Earlier in the video I said 50. I was wrong. This was started on Columbus Day. So it's December 7th today, and it looks like it's broken down nicely. This was the 1-to-1 ratio. It's close to being ready, maybe a little bit longer. Because we're approaching winter now, for the last 2 weeks it's been really cold, and you want the nights to be at least in the upper 40s for your hot composting to really work well. This one is almost to that 30-day point. I can see some wood pulp in there, but it looks great. Not quite there. I think if it was warmer, this would be completely composted down and you could get, you know, working compost in 30 days using the alfalfa pellets and the wood pellets. I think if we're doing this to be safe, you know, push it to 45 days and you'll have compost for your entire garden. You get all of this compost. So let me end here, and then in this video you'll see that I'll be cutting in the development of this, so you'll get a good sense of how it worked. So when I put in 1 5-gallon container of greens, half a container of the wood pellets, this expanded to almost 5 of these. So you get almost 25 gallons from 1.5 buckets. So 7 gallons or so get you about 25 gallons. That's a ton of compost. This is going to break down, of course, but it's still a lot of compost, and you're only spending $20, $25 on the raw materials. All right, so I'm going to say now, thanks for being part of the Rusted Garden. Please check out my seed shop, and hopefully, as I cut in through this video, you saw how successful this was over a 30-day period. Today is the 8th of November. Let's see how this looked come December 8th. And we're doing this in the cold.